So here's why your soloing skills have a hard time coming together into one single soloing skill, right? This is why the picking, the scales, the arpeggios, the rhythm, the phrasing techniques, the vibrato, sliding, bending, all of that hasn't come together into a relaxed playground of being able to solo over any track. Because that is its own discipline. And in my upcoming program, Blues Loops, we're going to handle that in the most effective, most playful way possible. Because Blues Loops, basically the blues is amazing because it has this very definite structure to it. So we can really practice playing soloing over that. If you can play a really great blues solo every single time you sit down, then you can, I would say, you're 99.9% closer to being able to play a solo over any style of music. So what is the most important thing to focus on, and what is the greatest pitfall? Let's take the pitfall first, right? The scary part first. Well, the pitfall that I fell into, and I see every other player fall into, is that we're afraid our solos are too boring, right? We want to play a really cool solo, and so we pile on like a comedian who's afraid that people aren't going to laugh. They just start talking faster, delivering their bits faster, right? More funny stuff in a shorter period of time. They speak louder, they speak faster, they increase their facial expressions, and little do they know that it doesn't help, right? It just becomes this frantic, right, spasm of doing more of what doesn't work. We do the same thing when we solo, right? We play too many notes, we scramble to play something interesting, so we pack a lot in there. You know how that feels, right? At some point I did that more than I played actual solos, right? It took me a while to get this discipline of this video under control and really practice that instead of practicing the frantic searching for stuff to play, right? So that's the pitfall we fall into. Just amping up what doesn't work. The main thing to focus on is simplicity in your structure. And this sounds unbelievably boring, but I promise you, if you'll do this, if you're willing to do that, then things will come alive at a level you haven't seen before. Because what we want to do is that we want to combine all the different sub-skills of soloing, like I said before, picking, strumming, rhythm, phrasing, all of these things, into the ability to play a solo that's just perfect right off the bat. And the way to do that, one of the elements we must have in our formula is structure. And that's super easy to play or practice. It's simply a matter of, taking what you play down to the simplest components and then focusing on those, and then have the music run by in the background, and then you focus on repeating yourself, right? That's the opposite of trying to play something interesting. You repeat yourself incessantly, and you repeat yourself with the chords in the background. And if you can do that, then you are well ahead here. So let's just a short little demo of that. We have a very fast jam track here. Right? It's just, once the body and the brain has gotten this under control and starts playing around with it, it's almost too much fun, right? Of course, this is a very fast track, so my rhythm skills are really doing their work here, right? When we take a slower track, it's much easier to do the same thing. There's just so much fun when it's fast. But you see, I'm using my rhythm skills, my phrasing skills, my everything there, and I'm repeating myself, which actually makes it more entertaining because people have something to relate to instead of just a flurry of, a lot of notes that just is whipping by. So when you have that in your practice, then that's the first thing to focus on, right? That is so important. Let me just give you one, and I need you to do that from now on. You always do that, always. Never play a solo where you just lean back, close your eyes, and start firing off lines that you have in your fingers. Don't do it. You're practicing crap. You're practicing becoming crap, which is a very bad idea, right? When you practice this kind of structure, and you don't even have to develop your solos because the blues does that for you. It has its own loop, right? The whole chord progression is a loop. Just listen to this loop here. We need to be very acutely sensitive to it. And when what we practice, like a blues loop, has that built into it, we cannot not practice it. So let's just listen to it. Right? You get my point here? We simply, we play something and then we play something else, but we follow the chords, kind of, I'm playing up against them. And because I'm playing something that simple, it's actually kind of easy once I get the hang of it. If you are practicing soloing and you're not doing this all the time, constantly, then you're really practicing something that you're going to become very good at, and that is playing crappy solos. Right? Because people don't want to listen to something that hasn't got structure. The song is structured, the whole song is a loop, the chord progression within the song are little loops of chords that repeat themselves, right? The melody in the verse is loops, right? We repeat the verse, we repeat the chorus. Why wouldn't your solo be exactly the same thing? Because that's what the human ear really likes to listen to, right? So from now on, from this day forward, you will not ever practice or play or have fun playing solos without doing this all the freaking time. If you are willing to commit to that and, slap your fingers whenever you wake up and you're just rambling along with, mindless licks and lines and runs and whatever, then, then I promise you that will do more to your soloing and to the quality of it and than any other thing you could focus on. But when you then start incorporating the phrasing, the actual notes you play, and you start practicing blues loops, because a blues loop can be an entire solo, right? It's all the things that we then repeat once the chord progression starts over again, right? It can be just right? Or it could be, right? That's also a loop, right? So we got small loops, we got bigger loops, we got the entire solo is a loop. And once we start practicing in loops, then pretty soon the brain gets this whole thing and it starts putting its phrasing techniques, because we're practicing those when we practice the blues loops, which are basically loopable licks, right? Large and small. It starts practicing its rhythm techniques. Everything becomes connected to the music, right? We're not practicing solos. We basically have a ton of building blocks that you can use to play solos. And then at some point, the brain just does it by itself because it loves this discipline, right? Like with words, you start improvising, you can say all kinds of things, right? Once you have enough words, the brain just starts playing around with those words constantly all day, right? You're never quiet in there, are you? You talk and speak constantly in your mind, because that's what the brain loves to do, tell stories. And then we got there, I wonder what would that say, right? Once you have that language under control, you start speaking in sensible language, which is the blues loops, right? Then suddenly it cannot stop improvising. It loves it like it does every day with words, right? So from now on, commit to never speak, never play without structure, right? Let me just do the fast track again, and let me have some fun with the structure here. We just start. Where are we now? Okay.